3 days in, we've had prospective parliamentary candidates having to leave because they put their foot in it on all sides. It's the most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
This is an irrelevant election. Election. Oh gosh, sorry, James, I was thinking of you.
Jerry, I have security on this show, on the TV show. You can be taken out, okay?
No, but it really is a pointless election. Johnson could have got this deal through, but he chose not to. For what reason? I don't know. Look at the lies that the Tories are telling. Look at the lies that Labour are telling. The whole thing is a complete fiasco, and people in this country are disgusted with the whole affair.
Speaking of lying, I think it's interesting where like people are now suddenly criticizing politicians lying, as if like politicians never lied before. It's, just get used to it. That's just how they are.
No, it's not actually. I did 14 years of the House of Commons. I didn't lie too much at all.
You know, I've done some terrible things in my past that have all been documented in the newspapers. You can shut up. But I may well have changed. Could I become a political candidate now, or would I have to put up with all this being brought up again?
I wish it was the case. I think there's a chunk of in society that people want ordinary politicians, as in politicians that have flaws. Like we're talking about the Trump types, the Boris types, where actually people are defending them out there, even though the media keep hitting them, because people know that as much as they want politicians to be polished and everything, but they know that they're human. But at the same time, the other part of the political class, probably Jerry, would attack them because they're like, they're not polished enough. They should be like robots.
No, quite the opposite. The fact is, these people are lying. The whole thing about post.
Everybody lies.
No, it is no. It was never. It is not new. It is not new.
Jerry, can you sit still a bit? You're going to give people headaches.
These sort of YouTuber children who speak so bloody quickly, but no sense whatsoever.
Ignore him.
Some of them are offensive and inappropriate. Generally, they're just stupid. You just look at that and think, as a person more broadly, they must obviously be a bit of an idiot, regardless of their political opinions. But so many people who have already been elected, who've got into power, and then something comes out, sometimes serious accusations, and yet the system will defend those people to the ends. And what frustrates me is that you should be treated, whether you're a first-time candidate or whether you're in the cabinet and you're making a comment about Grenfell, you should be treated with the same seriousness of those comments. And that's what frustrates me. It's like the establishment only rejects the new candidates so they can protect themselves.
Corbyn targets billionaires. Now, why in this country do we hate success so much? Benjamin?
Well, I mean, I don't accept that questioning how someone is a billionaire is hating success. Okay, I'm a Blairite, right? So I am genuinely intensely relaxed about people getting filthy rich. But
a young man doesn't over here.
But the truth is that so many people who are billionaires, they haven't got there by honest means. They haven't got there by paying. They haven't got there by paying the same taxes. I suspect all of us on this panel pay proper taxes. Lots of billionaires don't, because they shift their money to offshore places to make more money, and that is something we should be angry about.
Benjamin, if you were successful, would you pay, or do you pay more tax than you have to?
Yeah. Well, okay, so...
Would you?
No one will.
No, he's not going to answer the question, is he?
He's
going to
say...
Hang on. No, but that's not the question, because...
No, it's the question he asked you. No, don't do a politician. He asked you a question. Answer it.
Hang on. The amount of tax that I can have to pay is something that isn't flexible. It is the same amount for other people in my tax bracket.
If you ran a business, right, and you employed people... You would rely on your accountants to tell you how much to pay.
Yeah.
Would you say to them, I'll just pay the maximum amount? Or would you say, it'd be good for my business if I didn't have to pay, let's keep it to a sensible amount? What would you do?
I don't think the loopholes to allow people to have such big differences should be allowed.
Then the loopholes should be tightened up.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the people who make the money.
But hang on, even people that run small businesses, okay, or medium-sized businesses, they're not the people properly abusing the system. Even if you got rid of those loopholes.
But this is the point I'm getting at.
How do you know?
Nobody, surely, if people are abusing the system, catch them, prosecute them, jailed.
If it's illegal,
But as it stands, it's not illegal. It's fine
So
to
whose
shift
fault
your money
is
into these
that?
dodgy places.
Whose
it's
fault?
Successive governments.
13 years of Labour,
Yeah.
10 years of the Tories,
became-
nobody's
The bigger the
parties are
government,
different
the more
colours.
complicated. But the funny thing is, to defend the billionaires, the issue is that a lot of people, it's been going on for decades. It's like the 1920s again. The more money they have, it helps the economy because they spend, they invest it, and also they buy new things. They buy new cars and new houses. They pay VAT on that. That also creates more jobs for
But
people
a
who
lot
make the
of
car.
them have worked very hard. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's a friend of mine, Theo Pathetis, who was on my radio show the
millionaire.
other day. And he employs a few thousand people.
Yep.
He pays his tax in this country. He started from absolutely nothing.
Yep.
The successful people surely are the people who create jobs and employ us. Benjamin, quickly.
What Mayor just said about
said
how
quickly.
a billionaire would spend more money in this country. If you split that billion between 10 million people, they would be more likely to spend that money in shops. And that is a fact. There's plenty of research.
27% of taxes are paid by 1% of the
If
population.
you've got a view on this, get in touch with us in the normal way. Here's Ricky.
Well, I was just going to say, James, there's only 151 billionaires in the UK.
Is
So
that
it's
all?
a tiny. There's only 151.
How many
So-
are single?
No, but what I'm saying,
Listen, there are other things going on. We should talk about them. 27 days of strike by the National Union of Transport Workers announced they're going to walk out in December, right over Christmas. Whoa! Jerry.
No, it's a bad idea, isn't it? It's a bad, and actually, they're not paid badly. Train driver, God bless them and all the rest of it, gets paid about 70 grand a year.
What?
Oh yes, hello. Better, you get paid because you're well known and all the rest of it. But most people who present radio programs do not get paid £70,000 a year.
They certainly don't.
No, they don't. Right. And you think, hello, is this right or is it wrong? Considering nurses, teachers, doctors.
Why do you get paid so much for sitting there pressing a button?
Well, it's got to be the right button, hasn't it?
Presumably you know.
Yeah,
Actually, I
otherwise-
think you'll find underground train drivers in
Yeah.
London get paid even more.
They do.
And they get some 2 or 3 months holiday a year because
Yeah.
it's dark underneath.
Yeah.
And all you do there is press a couple of buttons.
Yeah.
Benjamin!
Oh, Benjamin! Oh, no!
No, look, I do actually think that tube drivers in London are overpaid. I think it's a bit ridiculous. But you should also I do.
Are you getting
I know, don't tell Len McCluskey. But there is, it's a serious job, and also, you get people that still jump in front of these tube stations, and tragedies happen that can be incredibly upsetting.
Being
for
a nurse or a
drivers.
doctor, you see tragedy every single day.
But do you know
and
what?
the stress
80
is probably
grand,
even
80
more.
grand.
But I hate the idea that the biggest problem with our trains in this country is some strong trade unions standing up for their workers. The problems are the fact that they're underfunded, that so many of the carriages, especially in the north, like I grew up around Manchester, areas where Boris Johnson is trying to win, you have converted buses that are now used as carriages on trains in 2019 in Britain. That's the problem with our train
There's very
services
poor
in this
regional
country.
connectivity as well, I'd say.
Some people are very nice, but the majority of people who work for the railways are completely ignorant. You ask them a civil question, quite often you are treated like dirt. And I'm getting sick of it. I had a rant the other day when I tried to buy a ticket and some bloke had a go. Oh, when do you... I said, look, I just want a return ticket. Oh, well, we all want something, don't we? I mean, honestly.
You just say he wants
clever
Brexit.
answer.
I want something, I want Brexit.
Good doctor.
I would just say that when trade unions, they are planning strikes to think about who are affected. Because if it's the case that it's primarily working class people who are actually going to be affected by the strike action, that's not going to do much for the wider popularity of the trade union movement. And I say that personally as a trade unionist as well.
And why do it at Christmas?
They're mafia, that's why.
That's when it's most effective.
Yeah,
They're doing the best for their trade union members.
So do the Godfathers.
Hang on. You used to be a conservative.
I am a
MP.
Conservative,
I can't
and I
believe
was
it.
Vice President of the trade union movement within the Conservative. I believe in the trade union movement to do the best for their people.
All I'll say is if the broader trade union movement, if they have ambitions to actually, increase their membership, this isn't the way to go about it.
Yeah, he's right.
Ricky.
You're right.
James Andrews just messaged in saying James has the cheek to talk about people being rude in reference to you trying to buy a ticket. And he's added on a nice smiley face, and I can see what he's trying to say there.
Ricky, what do you think of the strikes?
I'm kind of torn on it because I also think there are many other industries which aren't as fortunate as, say, the train industry or transport industries where they have such a powerful trade union that they can keep ramping up their wages. There are many other industries. If you think of just people that are stocking shelves in supermarkets, why don't they have such a strong union and go, we're going to be above minimum wage, we're going to be on £15 an hour, £20 an hour. So I struggle with it. I think it's great. It's great they have this community and sense of pride in the work that they do. But there are just so many other people in this country that don't benefit in the same way that the train workers do.
Okay, I don't know whether it is a good idea to bring back corporal punishment or capital punishment. I'm not even sure if it works. But there is no deterrent, so there is no respect. And you get these yobbos who go around with knives and they think they are above the law. They think they can do whatever they like. So we in society surely have to bring back some deterrent. We cannot continue the way we do. You've got to be politically correct. You can't comment on somebody. You can't tell somebody to sit up straight. You can't tell somebody they're being rude. You can't tell anybody off. Well, that's rubbish in my opinion. Jerry Hayes.
Any people who say that there is no deterrence in our sentencing really hasn't got a clue.
There is
what
no
they're talking
deterrent.
about.
What's the deterrent of that?
The deterrent is you're
And
going to
don't
get a
call me
long time in
shock
prison.
jock. I don't appreciate it.
Well-
I'm telling you what people feel in this country.
People feel all sorts
People
of
feel
weird,
in this country
stupid
there is
things,
no
but
deterrent.
they are absolutely
And do you
wrong.
know, just before
they
you
are
come
wrong.
in,
They
Jerry,
are wrong, James.
much as I love you, much as I like you are the root of the problem of this country, you and the judiciary, right? And I think it's about time we thought about considering the sort of people who became
in every
judges,
single way.
And I think
wrong
there is
in
no
every single
necessity-
way.
You can shout
And
at
James,
me
I've
as
known
much
you
as
long
you
enough.
like,
I've known you
but
long
you
enough.
know
You
I'm
don't
right.
believe a word
No,
of that.
absolutely
We have
do.
the toughest
I
sentences this
absolutely
country has
believe
ever
it.
had.
The fact is that they will have had a lack of education, a lack of
making
family
excuses
stability,
for them.
a lack of opportunity,
How do you know this?
which is how they've got there
How
in
do you
the
know
first
this?
place.
That sounds
If
like
someone
making excuses
stabs
for
someone,
them.
it's not
Yeah,
through a
you're
lack
making
of
a-
education.
Benjamin, you're making excuses for
You're
people.
distorting my point. You're distorting my point.
You're horribly
You're
out of
just
touch
wrong.
with mainstream opinion on this because the reality of the matter is people
You're
want strong
distorting
law
my
and
point.
order.
But they've almost certainly been failed, and that's why they've turned to
How do you
behaving
mean
like
they
that.
have been
and there is no
failed? How can you say
like how they
that?
started
You
it.
don't
Okay.
know
Mostly.
if someone has stabbed someone, if someone has shot someone. Oh, they've been failed, so give them a lesser sentence. I'm sorry,
we
at the
know
end of
full
the
well-
day.
Hang on, Jerry. That's exactly what you say in
No,
court.
it's not, because I was saying to you that the sentences are really, really, really tough. The guy I represented and he was convicted will
No,
not.
they're not.
They're absolutely not.
Oh,
How many
absolute
times do you hear-
nonsense.
how many
32
hang on,
years
just a minute.
before you are considered.
But that person took another person's life. They
Yes.
don't deserve to ever get out.
Why 32? Should be
But never.
100 years.
Well, because
50 years.
it will be a life sentence. I mean,
It
not
very
to get
rarely
out.
is though. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
that is
all the
completely
time.
wrong.
It
I mean,
is.
I've only been a barrister for 42 years. You spent my life prosecuting,
your
defending
fault,
these cases.
really,
No,
because
it's
you
not.
have to
Oh,
take
shut up, Wendy. For God's
Ricky,
sake.
what are our viewers and listeners saying?
There's a lot of stuff. We'll start light. St. Albans Tech has said, is that Jerry Hayes? I thought it was Bernard Cribbins.
Oh!
It's what they're saying. I didn't make this one
He's
up.
only 85.
There is a lot of support for bringing back the cane. Shooter McGavin says, yes, bring back the cane. James Andrews says, James probably liked being caned. Again, I just read what I see in front of me.
McDonald's chief executive has been fired for having a relationship with an employee. Should all relationships within the workplace be banned?
It's idiotic.
Of course not.
No, most people meet their partners through work, because especially people who work like long hours and they don't actually have a social life. How on earth are they going to meet anyone?
You have too many cases where powerful men in workplaces,
Oh, for God's sake.
they lure in often younger women, powerful men, and that is an abuse of the situation. And the problem is with saying, oh, all workplace relationships should be totally fine, is that assumes that men don't abuse their power sometimes. And they do.
All women.
Isn't there a
Some
typical
women.
thing of getting
Some
attracted to a
women.
powerful
Very
man?
briefly, Jerry, got 10 seconds. What do you think?
Rubbish.
Thank you. Ricky.
Absolute baloney.
Okay. Be very careful, though.
You made me agree with Jerry. Jesus.
I know.